Decent cinematography, somewhat fascinating premise, 1955's Time Slip aka The Atomic Man, directed by the later somewhat celebrated Ken Hughes, is an overall fairly impressive act of 1950s science fiction filmmaking. A man with a bullet in his back is found in the River Thames and is identified as a nuclear physicist named Stephen Rayner, who is apparently alive and rather unaware of these circumstances elsewhere. It would seem that the man from the river is operating 7.5 seconds ahead of everyone else he is interacting with. What in blazes is going on here? The script was adapted to the screen by Charles Eric Maine from his earlier teleplay titled Time Slip. I feel as though the material is what it is, mostly used to fuel an espionage plot, although the speculative scientific device is really quite an intriguing one. The most favourite aspect of the film for myself is Ken Hughes' handling of the material. I feel as though Hughes' direction, coupled with the cinematography of one A.T. Dinsdale, is really quite stellar for what otherwise appears to be a fairly lower budgeted picture. I don't consider it essential, although I find it fairly likeable, certainly aesthetically, I'd say. Early IMDb reviews as follows. From your old pal Jim, 12th of May 2001, British B mystery with a science fiction gimmick. The science fiction gimmick in this B British mystery is a man who, after his highly radioactive body is fished out of the Thames, comes to life. After he awakes, it is discovered that his brief death and exposure to radiation causes his consciousness to be 7 seconds into the future. This film soon drifts into a typical wisecracking reporter mystery after a reel or two, and the time slip gimmick is forgotten. Most of the film deals with a male and female reporter trying to prove the mysterious man is actually a famous scientist who is now being impersonated by an enemy agent. The script, written by Charles Eric Maine, based on his novel, is typical of most of Maine's screen/published science fiction. He comes up with an interesting science fiction gimmick and works it into a mundane plot. Okay. In this case, a typical wisecracking reporter mystery. Another example of this is the film The Electric Monster, aka Escapement, from a script by Maine based on his published novel. An historical note, American actor Gene Nelson was the dancer and singer who starred in many musicals. He was in an accident about a year before this film was made and it prevented him from dancing. And from Mike 1964, he gives it 5 out of 10 from the 15th of July 2001, Time Slip aka The Atomic Man, better than reviews. I had read the reviews for The Atomic Man and to be honest didn't make me want to see this movie. I always had this movie very low on my want list and recently purchased a copy from Sinister Cinema. Wow, what a mistake I had made over the years. I really enjoyed this movie. Plot concerns a nuclear scientist, Dr. Raynor, Peter Arne, who is shot at the opening of the film and dumped in the river. He is found without identification and taken to the hospital. He is not expected to make it, but miraculously pulls through surgery even after dying for 7.5 seconds. The newspaperman, Gene Nelson, suspects the recovering man to be Dr. Raynor from a glow in a photograph. When he investigates, another man, also Arne, is at the research center. The movie goes on a while the characters try to determine who the man at the hospital is. We find out that a man named Vasco, Vic Perry, is behind the whole matter. He had Raynor shot and had a plastic surgeon prepare the fake Raynor for the purpose of blowing up Raynor's experiment. While the real Raynor is recovering, we discover he is 7.5 seconds into the future. A really poor reason is given to how this would happen and an even worse antidote. Okay, we can't always have good scientific reason in our sci-fi movies. In the end, Vasco and his incompetent gang are frauded by Gene Nelson and Faith Domergue. The plot is a little thin on science fiction, but pretty fun throughout. I generally agree.